the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Coming up on the news at noon, a fatal triple shooting inside of a home in Virginia leaves neighbors in shock and asking a lot of questions. What police are saying. And later, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is responding after a proposal could increase rideshare drivers in the downtown area. What she's saying today. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Mark Hall. Let's take a look at the weather. Take a live look outside where we saw lots of rain this morning. Let's go over now to meteorologist Damon Matson for the latest check on the forecast. Damon, when can we expect this rain to stop?
Well, Mark, it's been unrelenting here this morning and now into the early afternoon. This storm system providing us with very wet weather. Now, that steady rain, it continues out there. Looking at the radar picture, we do have that steadier rainfall working its way to the north and east, but notice something here, folks. We're already starting to see some pockets of drying going on west of Interstate 81. That rain is letting up down into parts of southern Maryland, just east of Fredericksburg as well there in Virginia. We're seeing those pockets of drier air starting to wear away at this steadier rain. So there will be a break soon enough, but check it out. We still do have those pockets of steadier rain here in the yellow, right through Culpeper, Warrenton, the heart of northern Virginia, still dealing with those heavier bands of rainfall. Far southern St. Mary's County, look at this yellow and orange right there. Very heavy rain going on right now in Lexington Park. But then as you lift off to the north through D.C., back up I-270 through Montgomery, Frederick counties, even over toward Washington County, just a fairly steady rain at this point, nothing too heavy. And even that is starting to lighten up here toward Martinsburg and Hagerstown. And as of this very moment, there has not been any sort of flood concern or worry. There have been no flood reports, as a matter of fact, across the viewing area. Thankfully, our recent dry conditions were able to soak up a lot of this rain. So we'll continue to see that steady to heavy rain for the next couple of hours tops. And then as we get toward the 3 o'clock hour, we're expecting to just have scattered lighter rain showers continuing then as we go into your afternoon and evening. Still some nuisance weather, no doubt, but it looks like the steady rain is starting to let up. But are we due for another round of steadier rainfall again later this week? And will that cause any issues? We'll have a full check of that forecast here in just a bit.
All right, Damon, thank you. Fairfax County police are investigating after 3 people were shot and killed at a Springfield home Thursday afternoon. Police say a 2-year-old was inside the home when the shooting happened. DC News Now's Lex Juarez has the latest information.
Well, a total of 3 kids actually live inside of the home here. 2 of them were not home at the time of the shooting. And the positive news out of this story is that all 3 are safe today. Now, the housekeeper actually found the bodies of those victims in the basement. 2 men and 1 woman, all shot to death. Police say 2 of the victims had been shot multiple times, while 1 only had 1 gunshot wound. At this time, they aren't drawing conclusions, but they have not ruled out murder-suicide. Police say multiple people were in the home when it happened. The housekeeper, that 2-year-old, and the family's live-in nanny.
She was in one of the upper levels of the home. The gunshots were heard from the basement.
Overwhelming. I mean, it just happened so quickly.
And neighbors describing how quickly that response was from police just after it happened. If this is deemed a murder-suicide, it'll be the 3rd in Fairfax County in the last 2 months. And right now there are no charges filed against anyone in this case. Police do say it was a domestic incident. They expect to have an update for us sometime today. In Springfield, Virginia, I'm Lex Juarez, DC News Now.
Lex, thank you. The man accused of abducting a New York woman is now facing 4 felony charges. This ended with the death of Tatiana David during a shootout on I-95 in Virginia. Police say that Michael Davis abducted David on April 5th. That same day, Virginia state troopers conducted a traffic stop on Davis because of improper license plates. Now, we're told that he drove off, leading to a police chase. The car then crashed into the woods. Officials say that's when Davis shot at troopers who returned fire. Davis was recovering in the hospital for some time before eventually being arrested and charged. Well, the Massachusetts man accused of killing his wife has pleaded not guilty. Brian Walsh's wife, Anna, was a real estate agent traveling between Massachusetts and D.C. She went missing in January and hasn't been seen since. Prosecutors say that they found incriminating evidence that Brian killed her. Court documents released yesterday show that Brian Walsh suspected his wife was having an affair. Prosecutors say that he persuaded his mother to hire a private investigator to prove it. They also say that Brian used his son's iPad to make Google searches on how to dispose of a body.
The oldest child's iPad begins to visit websites that concern how long does it take for a dead body to smell. Included was also how long someone must go missing in order to collect.
In that 4 months, there's been no body found. There's been no indication of if she died, how she died. There's no murder weapon. There's no motive.
Officials say Anna had taken out a nearly $2 million insurance policy on herself, with Brian as the sole beneficiary. When investigators reported discovering surveillance footage showing a man resembling Brian Walsh discarding heavy trash bags into a dumpster. It was not far from their Massachusetts home. Well, the Army says 3 soldiers are dead and another was injured after a helicopter crash. It happened last night in Alaska near Fort Wainwright. The Army says the Apache helicopters collided while returning from a training flight. The Army is not releasing the names of the soldiers killed at this time. Well, members of MPD's 4th District held a candlelight vigil this morning to remember Sergeant Jen Park, who was killed in a motorcycle accident. Tosin Fakile was there at the vigil, and it was held at 5:50 this morning, about the time that the sergeant died in the crash.
Sergeant Jen Park served in the Metropolitan Police Department for 11 years, and on Friday his police family came together to honor his life at the exact time he lost that life a week ago right here.
At this time, please join the 4th District family in a moment of silence.
A somber moment in the early hours of the morning. Police say Sergeant Jen Park died in a motorcycle crash on April 21st, driving home after his shift.
April the 21st, 2023, just before 0550 hours.
Over the last 7 days, there hasn't been a day that's gone by that haven't heard a story about Sergeant Park.
Commander Carlos, who trained Park, said Sergeant Park was a leader.
On how he took care of his officers, on how he led them through the riots of 2020. He led them through the insurrection of 2021. We all know he was an incredible person. He was an incredible sergeant, and he will be missed.
I was walking around and praying for the person at the time. Of course, I didn't realize he was a police officer.
Gregory Clark lives just feet from where the accident happened. He recalls walking out to what he describes as a horrific scene.
The officer was on the street, and the motorcycle was beside him, and another gentleman from across the street was doing chest compressions.
Clark joined the officers in Friday's candlelight vigil after he saw the patrol cars and lights.
I passed by the intersection 100 times since last week, and you see the marks that they put down in the street, and I've not been able to pass by without thinking about him, and so he'll never be forgotten.
Honorably served for 11 years until the end of watch.
Officials say funeral plans are in place and they'll share those details once they get the okay from Park's family. We're in Northwest D.C. I'm Tosin Fakile for DC News Now.
Tosin, thank you. D.C.'s mayor giving the thumbs down to a council member's proposal to charge people an additional fee for ride shares to and from downtown to help fund free bus rides. The $2 downtown ride share fee bill was put up recently by council member Brianne Nadeau. Ward 1 council member put up the bill to add a $2 fee for digital dispatch companies, including Uber and Lyft, for rides starting and ending downtown. Nadeau said that the goal is to reduce congestion downtown and fund free buses. Extra fees will be for rides ending in the downtown business district from 7 a.m. to noon and starting downtown from noon to 7 p.m. Mayor Bowser has been focused on getting revenue flowing back into downtown as we continue to come out of the COVID-19 pandemic, and she wasn't mincing words on her thoughts on the bill.
I think it's a terrible idea. Any effort to attack the downtown, taking capital dollars out, or actually charging people to come downtown extra is the antithesis to a comeback, to an investment in the comeback of downtown.
Councilmember Nadeau said that the extra $2 would raise about $45 million over the next several years. The proposal was unanimously approved by a committee on Wednesday. It's headed to the council for a full vote.
The big thing for us is if Emmanuel Forbes is sitting there, there's an opportunity for us to get our guy.
What's up, Commander fans? Emmanuel here. Excited to be a Commander and get to work. Hail to Commanders.
Washington Commanders head coach Ron Rivera calling his shot for this year's NFL draft, the 16th overall pick. Emmanuel Forbes played defensive back for Mississippi State. During his college career, he tied an FBS record with 6 interceptions returned for a touchdown. We're looking at some of the DMV prospects we highlighted before the draft. First off the board was Jordan Addison from Frederick. He's off to Minnesota to play for the Vikings with the 23rd pick. And with the very next pick, the Baltimore native Deonte Banks from the University of Maryland was picked by the New York Giants. At 27, D.C. native Anton Harrison was selected by Jacksonville. And Brian Bruzy from Damascus was picked at number 29 by the New Orleans Saints. Well, yesterday's government inflation report is a sign that the anticipated recession has yet to arrive. Well, that report showed around a 1% increase in annual rate this past quarter. Many economists still think a recession is going to hit as soon as this current quarter, if not soon after. Officials say that higher prices could slow consumer spending. They say the clearest sign of a recession would be a steady rise in job loss and a surge in unemployment. Another definition from the one economist group is, quote, a significant decline in economic activity that is spread across the economy and lasts more than a few months.